All right, this is a long one. This is the actual Owen Hart obituary from the National Post, Tuesday, May 25th, 1999. Owen Blue Blazer Hart, Canadian wrestler, felt compelled to compete. Famous wrestling family urged fans to say prayers, take your vitamins, and drink your milk. Those are like the headline, the sub-headline. Here we go. Owen Blue Blazer Hart, the professional wrestler who has died at age 33, was a four-time tag team champion, two-time intercontinental champion, and European champion who once claimed he got into the ring only to appease his father. But the youngest son of the famous Hart family of Calgary was probably born to wrestle. His father, Stu Hart, raised his 12 children on the foundation of Stampede Wrestling, televised bouts in the 40s and 50s that featured noble good guys and slippery villains. Owen Hart himself made wrestling history of a sort in 1994 during WrestleMania 10 when he fought his brother Bret the Hitman Hart for the World Wrestling Federation title. That didn't happen. Grunting and sweating and slamming each other in earth-shaking fashion, the two brothers battled it out in a ring before a sellout crowd of nearly 20,000 fans at Madison Square Garden, as well as millions of North American television viewers. When it was over, the victorious Owen mocked his older brother before the huge audience. "I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be." Not sure he said that either, but let's continue. Owen Hart was born on May 7th, 1966, but the Hart family's roots in wrestling were set down long before in the 1930s. Stu Hart, whose parents lost everything in the 20s, was given up to be raised by the Salvation Army. The young boy promised himself four things. He'd keep his family together no matter what. There would always be lots to eat. He would always have a nice, big house, and anyone would be welcome there. Stu Hart grew up in Edmonton, where he discovered he was a natural in competitive sports: swimming, soccer, hockey, football, baseball, and wrestling. He played with the Edmonton Eskimos in 1938 and 39, but it was wrestling that snared him. After the war, the elder Mr. Hart turned pro and soon started promoting bouts. He created Stampede Wrestling in 1948, about the same time Smith, his first son, was born. Remembering his childhood vow, he bought the biggest house he could afford in 1951, the Crandell House, which had been an orphanage in the 20s. Today, the mansion is a provincial historic site surrounded by posh condos, apartments, and homes on Broadcast Hill in southwest Calgary. Visitors to the house included the likes of the Maguire twins, Andre the Giant, various midget wrestlers, boxer Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano, and Olympic gold medalist Jesse Owens. There, Stu and Helen Hart raised their growing brood. By the time Smith was 17, the family had grown to 12 children, 8 boys and 4 girls, causing Mrs. Hart to joke, quote, "I've done a lot of business with the Tooth Fairy over the years." Sunday afternoon sports were a ritual. The basement where the kids learned to wrestle was nicknamed the Dungeon. "We had our own house league," Owen remembered. Owen revered his father, who taught him to wrestle, but more importantly to respect his brothers and sisters and to be dedicated to his schooling. "If you missed the school bus, you had to break it to Dad," he once recalled. "I remember running down the lane with my socks and shoes in hand." Two of his older brothers, Bruce and Keith, both former pro wrestlers, sometimes acted as substitute teachers. "Usually you can joke and fool around with subs, not with your brothers," he said glumly. Young Owen was taken early to the glamour as well as the blood and guts bluster of the business. Quote, "Mom handled the business side and would be up till 1 a.m. taking calls with that night's receipts," he said. "We thought we were rich, but sometimes there was hardly enough money for gas." Though Keith Hart insisted that his father never pushed the boys into wrestling, 7 of them did stints as pro wrestlers, while 3 of the 4 Hart girls married wrestlers. Owen himself said he had wanted to be a phys ed teacher. In 1993, he told an interviewer, quote, "I wrestled only to appease my father. I was compelled to get into the ring. Once I started, there was the pressure of having the Hart name. I was expected to be good." And good he was. He soon earned a reputation as an extremely talented and dedicated amateur wrestler, not just another stomp and groan type. Both agile and quick in the ring, he fought with the University of Calgary Dinosaurs and was a Canadian collegiate champion. In 1986, at 5 feet 10 inches and 227 pounds, he entered the World Wrestling Federation, the last of Stu Hart's 7 sons to do so. In his 13-year career, he took 7 titles in all and was much loved among his peers. Given to clean living, he was devoted to his sport and to his wife and 2 children. It was even said he didn't swear. As the Blue Blazer, he played a good guy comic book-like hero who urged fans to say your prayers and take your vitamins and drink your milk. Still, Mr. Hart endured his share. Do you think the National Post understands the joke? Like the mocking of Hulk Hogan? Or do they really think that Owen Hart is the Blue Blazer? Like that wasn't a joke, like that was a real character, that wasn't a parody. That was almost like a punishment. Anyway, Still, Hart endured his share of drop kicks during his wrestling career. Life in the ring could be physically grueling. Quote, wrestling is not 9 to 5 and weekends off. There's a show every night, he once said about the showbiz circus athletic spectacle that is pro wrestling. And he was often overshadowed by his brother Brett, who enjoyed greater fame and made much more money. This is some good writing. Good writing, National Post. So much unnecessary, almost like digs in here. So far, this is like not a lot about Owen. It's about Stu and how he wasn't as good as his brother. The two began feuding in 1994, around the time Owen pinned his brother in WrestleMania 10. Much was made of the fact that Owen didn't follow Brett when his brother left the WWF for World Championship Wrestling. In an online chat room recently, Mr. Hart said that he and Brett were still estranged. Quote, I spoke to Brett in Germany after he lost to me in the tournament, and it brought on new problems. There were family tragedies as well. Mr. Hart lost a brother to kidney disease in 1990 and a nephew to flesh-eating disease 3 years ago. In the end, he never regretted stepping into the ring, but despite his success, he was planning his exit. Quote, when my contract is up, I'm out of wrestling, he told Slam magazine. I've been smart with my fiscal affairs, and at the end of the tunnel, I've kind of made plans. Financially, I'll be set. I think at this point, my family, my wife, and kids have been compromised enough. I need to start focusing on my family and letting go of wrestling. Mr. Hart leaves his wife, Martha, a son, Oj, and his daughter, Athena. National Post with files from Bob Weber and Will Gibson, the Canadian Press, Sasha Nagy, and Juliet Williams. Calgary Herald, the Kansas City Star. Here we have two pictures. Canadian wrestler Owen Hart, right, applies a chokehold to his brother Brett while referee Dave Hebner tries to control the action at WrestleMania 10 in 1994. Owen Hart died Sunday after falling 18 meters into the ring. He was lowered from the ceiling of the Kemper Arena in Kansas City. The sold-out crowd initially thought the accident was a stunt. And this picture says, Owen Hart with brother Brett and father Stu.